Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates, coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome everybody here to our program tonight. Richard Smith just gave us a 5x5 here. Thank you, Richard. We have several people here. S. Nort is here. Welcome. Juanito from El Centro, California. Richard Smith is here from Nova Scotia, Canada. Dennis N. says, good evening. Welcome. Annette is here. Sleeping Volcanoes here. Tammy Steffi's here. Heidi Petrick is here. By the way, Linda Covington sent us a donation over on our PayPal, and we want to thank Linda Covington for that donation. We appreciate it. We appreciate all of you who give us super chats. We appreciate all of you who send us donations to PayPal, or also send us donations through the mail. We haven't had any mail at all in almost 4 weeks, but we are here for you, and we'd love to hear from you as well. You can always send us a donation through the mail. Just stick it inside of a letter to us or inside of a card if you send a card, and it will be perfectly safe. We've only had one issue in 5.5 years, and we hope it doesn't ever happen again. Demon Catman from the east of England is here. Welcome. Joseph Vallo is here. Thank you. My buddy George Rashad from the People's Republic of California is here. Thank you for being here. Tammy Steffi, all of you guys, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you ever so much. Gosh, it's wonderful to be here with all of you. Now, I want to first talk about something that's very important. Okay? Fires. We've seen a lot of wildfires as of late. Now, a lot of these wildfires are in California and also in Oregon and Washington. They're all over the United States and all over the world, literally. I have a map. I'm going to show you another time, but I have a map with fires literally all over the world. Now, tonight, I want to talk about the fires in California and Oregon. Specifically in California tonight. This past Friday night, evacuation orders were issued for parts of Shingletown, California, Northern California, and Mentone, California. Officials also evacuated staff. They evacuated staff from Mount Lassen National Park headquarters. They evacuated staff from Lassen National Park headquarters, and they shut down Highway 89 from the travel center, from the recreational travel center. Get that. Evacuation orders. Let's talk about evacuation orders. Butte County, California. There is an evacuation center set up at Neighborhood Church at 2801 Notre Dame Boulevard in Chico, California. Again, there is an evacuation center set up at Neighborhood Church at 2801 Notre Dame Boulevard in Chico, California. A shelter for small animals has been set up at 2279 Del Oro in Oroville, California. And a shelter for large animals is at the Camelot Equestrian Center in Oroville, California. The Butte County Sheriff's Office is also asking people evacuating from Sterling City and Maglia areas to go south on Skyway and not go north. Let me repeat that. The Butte County Sheriff's Office is asking people evacuating from Sterling City and Maglia areas to go south on Skyway and not go north. It's important. Tahoma County, California. There is a Red Cross evacuation center at Los Molinos Vets Hall at 7980 Sherwood Boulevard in Los Molinos. An evacuation resource center is located at St. Peter's Episcopal Church at 510 Jefferson Street in Red Bluff. That's 510 Jefferson Street in Red Bluff, California. A shelter for small animals is located at 22005 Gilmore Ranch Road in Red Bluff. Again, 22005 Gilmore Ranch Road in Red Bluff, California. And it's open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. That is a shelter for small animals. A large animal shelter is located at Ridgeway Park in Red Bluff at 19725 Ridge Road, 19725 Ridge Road, and Corning Rodeo Grounds at Estill C. Clark Park. Estill C. Clark Park, located at 103 Fig Lane in Corning. 103 Fig Lane in Corning. 103 East Fig Lane in Corning, California. Please remember this. This is essential for your animals and also yourself. In Shasta, California, Shasta County. In Shasta County, an evacuation center is at Bella Vista Elementary School at 22661 Old Alturas Road. 22661 Old Alturas Road in Shasta County. Officials said last night that 192 structures have been confirmed as destroyed and 19 others damaged. 192 structures have been confirmed destroyed and 19 others have been damaged. California Governor Gavin Newsom proclaimed a state of emergency in Butte and Tehama counties. Impacted residents will be able to access unemployment benefits more easily, and they will have fees waived if they need to replace driver's licenses and records such as marriage and birth certificates. The Butte County Public Health Officer has declared a local health emergency because of the hazardous materials found in ash and debris from the fire. Again, let me repeat that. The Butte County Public Health Officer has declared a local health hazard emergency because of the hazardous materials found in ash and debris from the fire. This allows the county to access programs to remove toxic substances in destroyed properties, including waterways. The County Board of Supervisors are going to have to ratify the declaration within a week. The County Board of Supervisors are going to have to ratify that sometime this week. The park fire acreage. Containment and conditions. Massive plumes of smoke marked the fire's first several days, and as the number of resources has grown, the fire's rate of spread has begun to slow. However, there are still multiple portions of the burn area that remain very active and threatening. As of 6:23 a.m. today, the fire had burned 383,619 acres. Again, 383,619 acres have burned, up from 337 reported yesterday. 373,357 acres burned yesterday. Now, CAL FIRE, who's in charge of all these fires. CAL FIRE said the total acreage burned for each county is as follows. Butte County, 53,104 acres have been burned. Tehama County, 330,515 acres have burned. To put this in perspective, CAL FIRE has said that the perimeter of the park fire is 260 miles in diameter. The perimeter of the park fire is 260 miles in diameter, which means it's burned more than 3 times the surface area of Lake Tahoe. It's burned more than 3 times the surface area of Lake Tahoe. That's incredible. The fire is also 14% contained as of this morning. Containment is not used to measure how much of the fire is extinguished, however. It's instead used to gauge how much of a perimeter around the burn area is established to prevent flames from spreading further. That is what they call containment area. The perimeter around the burn area to prevent flames from spreading further. 14% containment as of right now. The fire is burning in grass, brush, and mixed timber and dead vegetation, with most of the acres scorched in Tehama County. That's according to CAL FIRE. More than 5,300 personnel are assigned to combat the park fire, an increase from 4,800 personnel yesterday. In other words, nearly 1,000 more people today than yesterday. That's incredible. Now, CAL FIRE said the fire continues to burn actively at multiple locations around the burn area. Strong southwesterly winds with wind gusts from 20 to 25 miles per hour are still causing problems until at least today at sunset. Southwesterly winds with wind gusts from 20 to 25 miles per hour are going to pose problems until sometime this evening near sunset, when the winds are expected to die down. Now, park fire evacuations and shelter information and road closures. Let's talk about that. Butte County officials today lifted some evacuation warnings near Chico and Forest Ranch. Evacuation warnings for the town of Paradise. Remember the town of Paradise that burned a few years back? Evacuation warnings for the town of Paradise, which was mostly destroyed by the 2018 Camp Fire. Those evacuation warnings have been lifted. Yesterday, the Butte County Sheriff's Office also lifted some evacuation warnings for parts of North Chico area. So some evacuation warnings have been lifted for the North Chico, California area. Sheriff Corey Honia said, "I think things are moving in the right direction. We hope." Due to the increased fire activity in Shasta County yesterday evening, the Sheriff's Office upgraded some evacuation orders and warnings in that county. All the zones that officials downgraded yesterday, have been upgraded back to their prior status. Evacuation orders and warnings in that county, officials have downgraded them yesterday, but they've been upgraded back to their prior status. Portions of Butte, Tehama, and Shasta counties remain under evacuation orders and warnings. Parts of Plymouth County are also under evacuation warnings. On Sunday, the Butte County Sheriff's Office said a portion of the orders will be downgraded to warnings. This includes Rock Creek Road, Sycamore Valley, and Cohasset Road. During an evacuation order, there is an immediate threat to livelihood. Remember this. During an evacuation order, there is an immediate threat to livelihood. It is mandatory to evacuate in this case. An evacuation order means that the fire behavior could threaten nearby homes and businesses. During a warning, evacuations aren't mandatory, but they are encouraged. If there is an order issued, it is a mandatory order. You have to evacuate. But if it's only a warning, you don't have to worry. But it is suggested that you evacuate. Now, why am I even talking about this? A lot of years ago, back in 2014, I've been working disaster drills all over the country. There was a fire in American Fork Canyon, Utah. In American Fork Canyon, Utah. A huge fire. One of my brothers-in-laws lived over there just outside of American Fork Canyon, and the fire was coming down the canyon. We could see flames from his house coming towards him, yet he didn't want to leave. He absolutely didn't want to leave, and I had to force him to leave. It was interesting. As I was trying to pack his truck, his SUV, he was resisting. And then all of a sudden, a sheriff's deputy comes to his house and tells him, "If you don't leave, you will be arrested." And I told him that I was trying to pack his house and get his house packed into his vehicle. That way he and his family could survive what was going on. Up until that time, he wasn't willing to leave until he was forced by an arrest. It's too darn bad. Those kind of people are so bullheaded, they don't want to even chance losing their house. He was going to stay in it until the last second. Folks, if you're asked to leave, leave. Do not wait like my former brother-in-law did by staying in your house until a sheriff's deputy comes to your house and tells you if you don't leave, you're going to be arrested. Don't wait. If there is an evacuation order, heed the order. If there's a warning, heed the warning. If I get an evacuation order, I'm leaving. I may leave before that if I think my house or my property is in any danger. I will leave. And I would expect all of you to do the same. Please, folks, do it. Do it. Your lives are at risk here. Your pets are at risk. Your children are at risk. Don't wait to be thrown out of your house because a fire is imminent. Get out now. Get out now. Okay? I've seen this happen before. Now, I have some more information for you. Actually, a lot more information for you. Folks, and this is important. Please bear with me, this is important. We have fires, like I said. The park fire was an arsonist that started it. This man right here. This man right here started the fire. He has been arrested by Butte County sheriff and police officials. He has been arrested. It's too darn bad that he had to do what he did. But he has a record as well. I want to tell you what happened. The Butte County District Attorney's Office said 42-year-old Chico man is accused of starting the park fire. Ronnie Dean Stout II. Ronnie Dean Stout II was arrested after he was seen pushing his mother's car that was on fire into a gully near Alligator Hole in Upper Bidwell Park, shortly before 3 p.m. last Wednesday. His mother's car was on fire and he pushed it into a gully. That was around the same time the park fire sparked. Stout has 2 previous strike convictions from the DA's office. One was for lewd and lascivious acts with a child under 14 in 2001 in Butte County. The other was for robbery with great bodily injury in 2002 in Kern County. Both of those are felonies. That's why he has a strike 2 against him. This is strike 3. After the second conviction, he was sentenced to state prison for 20 years. He got out and he just sparked this huge fire that cost people their property. I don't believe any lives have been lost as a result of these fires. The park fire, however, has become the largest wildfire in California since the Dixie Fire, which sparked in July 2021 and went on to burn more than 963,000 acres. That was in 2021. In 2023, the largest wildfire in the state was the Smith River Complex Fire in Del Norte. That fire spread to 95,107 acres. In 2022, the largest fire in the state was the Mosquito Fire, which spread to 76,788 acres. The total acreage burned by fire in 2023 was 324,917, while in 2022 it was 331,358 acres. That's huge. That's huge. Folks, if you are under warnings now to leave, leave. Do not wait for anyone to force you to leave. Don't wait for law enforcement to knock on your doors or for a helicopter to fly overhead with a loudspeaker telling you to leave. If you even think that there may be danger, don't wait to be told or forced out. Get out while the getting's good. Get out while the getting's good. You don't want to be forced out. You don't want to be in a position where you may not be able to get out at all. That's happened as well. Okay? It's happened a lot. I do not want to see anybody hurt. Again, I do not want to see anyone hurt. And yet I have. Not this year, but in prior years. I've actually also lost friends of mine in fires. It's sad. Jordan Wilson said no human lives lost yet, but the countless animals aren't as fortunate. There are at least 200 head of cattle that lost their lives in the park fire. 200 head of cattle that their owners couldn't get them out. Can you imagine the suffering those animals and other animals suffered when the flames consumed them? I don't even like to think that. I do not like to even think that. Now, folks, as a law enforcement officer, I was tasked not just once but several times with my partner to go out and patrol the outer areas of San Diego and Los Angeles County, to patrol the outlying roads and fields, to make sure no one else is trying to start a fire. I arrested 44 people in over 24 years of law enforcement. 44 people that were trying to start a fire. Please don't do it. Keep your cars on the road. Do not take your hot catalytic converters over an open field. Keep your cars on the road. Don't go off-roading. Do not go off-roading. Okay? This is high fire season right now. And we don't even have the devil winds yet. Devil winds develop in California coming off the desert headed toward the shoreline. The winds come off the desert in California and head to the shoreline. They call devil winds. These winds are upwards of 100 miles per hour in some cases. And if there's a fire, the fire is stoked by the winds. Please don't do that. Keep your cigarette butts in your ashtrays in your cars. Keep your cars on the road. Do not go to start a fire. Over in Colorado, there was a woman that was arrested outside Colorado Springs. She was in a campground. She started an illegal fire. That fire burned over 110,000 acres. It burned over 110,000 acres. It started just north and west of Colorado Springs. It almost burned into Littleton, Colorado. We saw the flames from the western side of Littleton, Colorado. That's how bad that fire was. Do not start any fires when you're camping. Do not start any fires when you're camping. Don't do it. Don't do it. I'm just warning you, don't do it. It's not worth it. If you're found to have started a fire, you're going to go to jail. You're going to go to jail, and probably everything you own is going to be confiscated by law enforcement and sold at to the highest bidder. You'll lose everything. Don't do it. My buddy Don Patokas here in the chat. This man is a man I care about. He's a very good friend. He said, can others be in jeopardy? Is there soot? Carbon dioxide issues? Yes. Carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide issues. Smokey the Bear used to say, know before you burn. Absolutely. Know before you burn. Okay? Please remember that. Only you can prevent forest fires. Only you can prevent forest fires. This is serious. I've seen this happen in Southern California. I've seen it happen in Northern California. I've been reporting on it for 5.5 years. I've been reporting on this for 5.5 years. That's a long time. We'll be reporting on it until the fires die down and are gone. Because we don't want people to lose property. We don't want to have people lose their lives. Like I said, if there is an evacuation order, leave. If there's a warning, leave before you're being told to leave. Don't chance it. We talked about emergency preparedness kits. Make sure you have an emergency preparedness kit. Food, water, and clothing in your car. Your papers, your important papers, insurance, life records, medical records. Put them in baggies and put them in your emergency preparedness kit. Put it all in there. In your clothing, sleeping bags, pillows. Put it in your vehicles and get the heck out of Dodge. If you have important pictures, take those with you. But make sure, if there's even a chance of an evacuation order, make sure you put those things right by the door so they can go from your house to the car and then out of Dodge. Don't chance it, guys. Don't chance it. Make sure you're ready. I don't want to see anybody lose their lives over what's happening. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is our volcanoes in the Pacific Northwest. I just put this picture of Mount Shuksan. Actually, it's Mount Baker up in North Washington. The northernmost volcano here in the United States in Washington State, just south of the Canadian border. Mount Baker. Folks, look what we're seeing here. You need to see this. Again, if you see a red seismogram, it's coming from the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network. And sometimes they lie. They lie through their teeth. But today, what we're showing you here is real. It's very real. This seismogram started off at 5 p.m. yesterday. 1700 hours up here at the top left. 5 p.m. Look at the thickness of these lines. Look at the thickness of these lines. Each and every line is thick after each line is thicker after 7 p.m. Look what we're seeing. This is serious. Magma is coming into Mount Baker in great strides. There is a lot of magma coming into Mount Baker. Look at that. These thicker lines show a lot of magma coming into Mount Baker. Now I have one other seismogram to show you. Okay? And it's important. It's very important. I want to show you Mount Shuksan VLF. Very low frequency waves are generated when there's a volcano that has a lot of magma pouring into it. That's what we're seeing here. Look at these squiggly lines here. These squiggly lines represent magma coming into Mount Baker up in Washington, just north of the Canadian border. Look at these squiggly lines. There is a lot of magma coming into Mount Baker. The squiggly lines are what they call very low frequency waves, radio waves. Very low frequency waves generated by magma coming into the magma chamber of the volcano. Look at that. Unreal, guys. Every one of these volcanoes is getting ready to erupt. Each and every one of these volcanoes are getting ready to erupt. I want you to know what's happening. I want you to know what's going on. We've been talking a lot about earthquakes. We've been talking a lot about volcanoes. There's a reason I'm showing this to you. There is a reason I'm showing this to you. Now, Linda Cummington is here in the chat, and the reason I'm going to just drift away from volcanoes for just a minute here, what she said is very important. Linda Cummington said what happened to California's plan to clean up old dry debris in woods. Governor Newsom has taken that money and put it in other places. For example, letting all these illegal people coming into California and feeding them, giving them $5,000 each per month so they can have a house to live in, so they can have any kind of food they want, so they can buy a car and drive it all over California. I bet they don't have insurance for that car either. I hate saying that, but every illegal that I ever pulled over never had insurance for the car. Every one of them. Every one of them. Incredible. Also, I said this earlier, and I don't think Linda was even in the chat room when I said it, but Linda Cummington sent us a donation over to PayPal. So Linda, I wanted to thank you for that. I want to thank you for that donation. It's very much appreciated. Anyway, let's get back to these volcanoes here. This is Mount Baker up just south of the Canadian border in Washington State. Now, the next one I'm going to show you is Glacier Peak. Good old Glacier Peak. This is 40 miles southwest of Mount Baker. Look what we're showing you here. Think about this. Think about this when I'm showing you all these seismograms. Up at the top, on that blue line. This blue line happened after 6:30 p.m. Every time you see a blue line, it means the earthquake happened after 6:30 p.m. Over on the left side, it's 6:30. In this particular case, this earthquake happened at approximately 6:39 p.m. last night. Just by looking at it, it appears to be a 2.6, 2.7 earthquake. And it had a secondary wave after that, a secondary quake after that. You can see that up to the right-hand side. That's at least a 1.8, 1.9 tremor. Over further to the right on the red line here. Okay? This is after 9:15 over on the left-hand side. So this would be approximately 9:29 p.m. last night. At this point in time, I would say that this would be about a 3.0 earthquake. A 3.0 small earthquake. And off to the right, we also have a secondary wave. That's a 2.0 earthquake off to the right and corresponding tremors after that. Then after 10:15 p.m. last night, on that red line, tremors. You see a lot of tremors here. Then the next earthquake we come to is after 4 a.m. this morning. Approximately 4:10 a.m. this morning. Another 2.0 earthquake. Then we jump down to after 6:13 a.m. this morning. This is a 2.9, 3.0 earthquake on that black line. Okay? This would be approximately 6:13 a.m. this morning. However, there's something else you need to see. See that blue conglomeration over here on the bottom right? Folks, That's a magma churn signal. Magma churn signals typically are 23 to 24 lines high. Let's zoom in here. Let's zoom in here and just find out how strong this magma churn signal is. Actually, it's not letting me zoom for whatever reason, but I've got an idea here where I can show you close up about this earthquake. Okay, let's count these lines. Again, magma churn signals are typically 23 to 24 lines high. This one's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 lines high. This is approximately 26% of real world. 26% of real world. What does that tell us? That tells us that these earthquakes that we thought at first were 3.0 small earthquakes, this one just over here to the left of this magma churn signal is probably a 4.0, 4.5 earthquake. A 4.0, 4.5 earthquake here at Glacier Peak. And they hardly ever tell us anything about Glacier Peak. Nothing. On the USGS map it says nothing. It shows nothing on Glacier Peak today. But yet this is a 4.0, 4.5 earthquake. Okay? Off to the right of that magma churn signal, those blue vertical lines, those are steam lines. Those are steam lines indicating Glacier Peak is steaming today. Glacier Peak is steaming. Now you see other small tremors here. Glacier Peak has tremors, earthquakes as well. Okay? You're going to see them on every seismogram that we're going to show you tonight. That's Glacier Peak. Let's drop down to Mount Rainier. Let's drop down to Mount Rainier. Oh boy, I can't wait. I've been waiting to show you this Mount Rainier all night, all afternoon. Okay? The first seismogram I'm going to show you comes from Mount Rainier, Emerald Ridge. Mount Rainier, Emerald Ridge. This particular seismogram, though, guess what? It is showing VLF waves here. VLF waves caused by magma coming into the magma chamber at Mount Rainier. Look at that. Look at all these VLF waves. A lot of magma is coming into Mount Rainier. You can see it here. When it gets really crazy and these waves are all over the place, that means there's a lot of magma coming into this volcano. There's a lot of magma coming into this volcano, and you can see it on this particular seismogram. This is Mount Rainier, and we have just barely begun to fight this. We just barely begun to show you what's going on at Mount Rainier. Let's show you Camp Muir. Camp Muir. This is over on the north side of Mount Rainier. Look what's happening. Okay? This particular seismogram starts off at 2000 last night, 8 p.m. We're seeing earthquakes here. We're seeing earthquakes. These vertical lines with dots in them are earthquakes. Okay? Earthquakes caused by magma coming into the volcanic chamber of Mount Rainier, and it's magma coming in, it's fracturing rock, causing earth movement. That's what constitutes earthquakes in the volcano. Magma is coming into this volcano, causing these earth movements, these rock fracturing going on. When you see blobs here, that is a lot of magma coming into the magma chamber. And you saw that on the other seismogram. Okay? Look what's going on. Constant and consistent earthquakes and tremors. Constant and consistent earthquakes and tremors. Now, I want to come over here to 8 a.m. This dark blue line in the center of your screen here. That appears to be a 2.0 earthquake. Right as it sits. You can see all of these earthquakes and tremors all over. If there's even a fraction of a tiny line here that has a dot in the middle of it, it's either an earthquake or a tremor. If there is a line here without a dot in it, it's steam coming from Mount Rainier. Steam coming from Mount Rainier. Look at these earthquakes here. Look at all these earthquakes, guys. It's incredible. Look at all that activity. Look at all this activity here. Did you expect to see it? We haven't shown you things going on at Mount Rainier in about 2 or 3 weeks. We've shown you seismograms before. Mount Rainier is getting ready to erupt. It's steaming, and you're seeing earthquakes here. Let's go take a look at another seismogram. I think you'll be amazed at what we show you. Very amazed. That was Mount Rainier. Let's look at Camp Sherman on the north side of Mount Rainier. This is Camp Sherman. Okay, you're seeing the entire seismogram right here. Let's blow this up so you can see what's going on. Look at this. From the time of 2000 hours, up at the very top. At 8:30 last night, you're seeing 1.5 tremors, you're seeing 2.0 earthquakes, and then we drop down to 2200 hours, 10 p.m. We see a dark earthquake, a dark vertical line. That is a 2.3 earthquake, a minor earthquake. We're seeing a lot of tremors here. We're also seeing a lot of vertical lines without dots in the middle of them, which means Mount Rainier is steaming. There are a lot of steam lines here. You can see them here. You can see tremors. A ton of tremors. There are so many tremors here that you can't even count them. I tried earlier today. Now, look, we're here. We dropped down here just after 8 a.m. this morning. About 8:09 a.m. this morning, we have what looks to be an 8 or 2.3 earthquake. Directly below that, we have another magma churn signal. Again, magma churn signals are typically 23 to 24 lines high. This one happens to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines high. 26% of real world. So these other vertical lines showing earthquakes, it's only less than 30% of real world. Less than 30% of real world. So let's tack on times 3. If we have a 2.0 earthquake, it's probably closer to a 3.0 earthquake. If there's a line that looks to be about a 2.0, 2.2 earthquake, it's probably closer to a 3.0 earthquake, small earthquake. And off to the right of that magma churn signal, there are steam signals. Mount Rainier is steaming here. Directly beneath this magma churn signal, we have another earthquake. Again, appears to be a 2.3 earthquake, but we know from that magma churn signal that this seismograph that recorded this has been turned down. So it's showing less than 30% of real world. So this 2.3 earthquake directly beneath this magma churn signal is actually 3.0 plus earthquake. 3.0, maybe even a 3.2 earthquake. Small earthquake here at Mount Rainier. Yes, Mount Rainier is having 3.0 earthquakes. We've seen them here before. You're seeing a lot of tremors. You're seeing a lot of minor earthquakes, but you're also seeing these earthquakes here that are not actually minor earthquakes. They are full-blown 3.0 small earthquakes. You can see it. Again, it's not hard to understand what's going on. we explain it to you all the time. Mount Rainier is getting ready to blow. Mount Rainier is getting ready to erupt. We don't know when it will. We don't know when Mount Rainier will erupt. We have no idea. But I'm showing you this information so you know what's going on. Everybody deserves to know what's going on. Okay? Now, I'm going to go south. I want to show you Mount St. Helens. Good old Mount St. Helens. I want to go over just before we go to the other main seismograms showing Mount St. Helens. I want to show you Studebaker Ridge just to the north of Mount St. Helens. Look at this, guys. Look at this. If you even thought that Mount Rainier was getting ready to go, look at this. Look at all this magma being recorded by the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network here at Mount St. Helens. This is Studebaker Ridge. These thicker lines show a lot of magma coming into the magma chamber here. We're also seeing a lot of tremors here. Tiny vertical lines on each of the other horizontal lines are showing tremors. They're showing tremors. But what's happening down here at the bottom? What is going on down here at the bottom? This is a lot of magma coming into Mount St. Helens. You have to look at that. It's completely obliterating the white of the paper. Now these are digital seismograms, so it's not real paper. But the magma incoming into Mount St. Helens is completely obliterating the background here. That is a lot of magma coming into Mount St. Helens. We saw this 2 to 3 years ago. The Pacific Northwest Seismic Network has been hiding this information. They've been hiding it. Now, it might be that the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network has been monitoring this channel. And I have not been showing you all these seismograms that I used to show you all the time. So they might think that I'm not going to show them. Well, guess what? I just did. Now, John Francis says, wow, it's building up. John, you're absolutely right. It is building up. We've been talking to you about Mount St. Helens getting ready to erupt for a long time. This is the first time we've seen this kind of magma buildup at Mount St. Helens. It's the first time. Because again, I believe they've been shielding this information from the public. We have shown you earthquakes. We've shown you a lot of earthquakes here at Mount St. Helens. A ton. And we're going to continue showing earthquakes. It's important for everybody to know what's happening. Mount St. Helens is getting ready to erupt. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Let me show you the seismogram from September Lobe. September Lobe is a seismograph, a machine sitting right on top of the lava rock that is the plug of the volcano. September Lobe seismograph is sitting right on top of the lava rock, which is the plug of the volcano. Look what it's showing here. Look at this. The great big huge blobs of magma are showing here, just like they showed over on the seismogram at Studebaker Ridge. Look at the vertical lines going through those blobs of magma. Look at that. Those are tremors and possibly even 2.0 earthquakes. These other vertical lines here, over here in the center on the black line here, that is after 3 a.m. This is about 3, I want to say 3:11 a.m. here. This one black line earthquake. 3 a.m., 3:11 a.m. right here. This appears to be a 2.3, 2.4 earthquake. Blow it into the left. That appears to be at least a 1.9, 2.0 earthquake. And the reason I say possibly a 2.0 earthquake, look at the right-hand side. That triangle out to the right-hand side, folks, is a secondary wave. Depending on the length of the time of the secondary wave, it's going to show us what strength the earthquake really was. In this case, the time element involved with the secondary wave is about 45 seconds. So folks, I'm going to give it a 2.0. A 2.0 earthquake right there. Now you see other blobs of magma here. A lot of magma coming into the magma chamber here at Mount St. Helens. You're also seeing a bunch of tremors here. A bunch of tremors. You also see some other vertical lines here. For example, that black line after 9 a.m. this morning. This again looks to be about a 2.0 earthquake. Then we have another black line just after 12 noon. That appears to be a 2.4, 2.5 earthquake. Mount St. Helens, guys. Mount St. Helens. But it gets better. It gets better. I just love this. Now, I get to show you September lobe BDF CC01. This seismogram right here. This is showing exactly what is going on inside the volcano. Again, all these squiggly lines show a lot of magma coming into the magma chamber here at Mount St. Helens. They can say everything they want. That there's only tremors happening at Mount St. Helens. That's what they're showing, guys. They have not shown one serious earthquake at Mount St. Helens in years. In years. But we've been showing this for a long time. Now this is buildup of magma coming into Mount St. Helens today. This is typically of what we see. Sometimes it varies from day to day, but it's typically what we see at Mount St. Helens. All these squiggly lines here are massive amounts of magma coming into the magma chamber. These are what they call VLF waves, very low frequency radio waves generated by the magma coming into Mount St. Helens. That's incredible, huh? This is absolutely incredible. Because USGS is not going to show it. They're too dumbfounded about what's going on. They will never show that. John Francis, keep your capital letters only one letter per sentence. One capital letter per sentence at the beginning of the word. We cannot have multiple capital letters because YouTube considers that yelling. In the past, they have gone, we've had Google YouTube moderators here in the chat where they've actually taken people off our chat, taken people down, not even giving them warnings. I've seen it. So please, folks, please be careful. I don't want you to be taken down. My moderators took your chat down. Google moderators take off completely. Be careful. Demon Kevin said another channel also said the same thing. Thanks, Dean. I appreciate that. But folks, here at Mount St. Helens, you're seeing it. You're seeing what's going on. We keep talking to you about Mount St. Helens possibly erupting. We're showing it to you right now. It's getting ready. It's getting very ready to erupt. Are they evacuating the area? No. They're going to do the same darn thing they did before. They're going to do the same darn thing they did before. But what's going to happen? Somebody's going to get hurt. People are going to die as a result of USGS not doing their darn job. People are going to die. 53, I think it was 53 or 58 people died back in 1980 when Mount St. Helens erupted, because USGS let them in. USGS says, oh, it's okay. Mount St. Helens is not going to erupt. But one of USGS's people died. One of their own scientists died in the blast. They eulogized him. They named a rest area at Mount St. Helens after him. Has USGS even learned anything from that? I doubt it. I doubt it. I want to show you two other seismograms here at Mount St. Helens. This one is Sugar Bowl. This is also over on the north side of Mount St. Helens. Look at all this magma here. Look at all this magma here. Folks, this is another USGS seismogram. Each individual line here represents 15 minutes of time. The seismograms we show you represent, each individual line represents 15 minutes worth of time. This seismogram here starts out at the top of this seismogram at 8:45 p.m. last night. Look at these thick lines. These are called magma pulse signals. Magma pulse signals. The lines are thin, they get thicker. Then they get thinner again. Then they get thicker again and get thinner again. Magma pulse signals. There's a lot of magma coming into Mount St. Helens, as you can see. Then we drop down to approximately, actually let me enlarge this so you can see it here. We drop down to just after 12:45 a.m. It's 00:45 a.m. on the left-hand side. You can see great blobs of magma here. Great big huge blobs of magma here. You can see the lines thicker here as well. A lot of magma coming into Mount St. Helens here. That's typical. Look what we're seeing here. We come down here after 7 a.m. This dark blue earthquake. This dark blue earthquake had the top and the bottom of it cut off. This big earthquake, folks, is big. It represents about 45 seconds of shaking. 45 seconds of shaking. This is at least a 4.5 earthquake. From everything I put together here, this is at least a 4.0, 4.5 earthquake at Mount St. Helens. At Mount St. Helens. Okay? Just a share taller than that would be 3.0. But guess what? This is at least a 4.0, 4.5 earthquake at Mount St. Helens. So Mount St. Helens is shaking. All these other blobs of magma here have lines going through them. 2.0, 2.2 earthquakes. 1.8, 1.9 tremors. Yes, you're seeing other tremors here as well, caused by magma coming into the magma chamber, fracturing rock inside the volcano. That's what happens. This is what happens. Okay? Let's pull this up just a little further. Okay? Now we're showing this afternoon. The bottom of this seismogram comes from 12 noon down here to later today. Look at that. Over here on the right hand side, just after, I want to say 1:29 p.m. today. Actually, no. About 1:14 p.m. 1:14 p.m. This appears to be a 2.7, 2.8 earthquake. All that magma here, and we're having earthquakes from it. Again, the magma coming into the volcano is fracturing rock, causing these earthquakes, causing the earth to move. Okay? We're showing that to you. That's what we're seeing here. That's what we're seeing. But another 4.0 earthquake at Mount St. Helens today. That's big news. And you can see the magma coming into the magma chamber here. You can actually see the magma coming into Mount St. Helens here. Okay? Now, I may be showing you one other one here. Let's look here. Yeah, I'm going to show you one other one. Let's go up and take a look at Trade Dollar Lake. This is approximately 5 miles north of Mount St. Helens, and it's at the same elevation as Mount St. Helens, Trade Dollar Lake. Look at this. What are they lacking here? What are they not showing? What are they not showing here? They're not showing earthquakes. They're not showing lava, magma coming into the magma chamber. They've shut down the seismogram. They have shut down the seismogram here at Trade Dollar Lake. Why? Why are they doing that? What could they possibly gain from shutting off the seismogram here? Or the seismograph. The seismogram is a record. Seismograph is the machine recording the data. They shut it off. They shut it off. Down here at the bottom, I'm showing you 12 o'clock noon today. Oh, my gosh. They turned it back on this evening. They've turned it back on this evening. Look at that. Look at all this magma here. This is Trade Dollar Lake, about 5 miles north of Mount St. Helens. Look at that. That's amazing. That is amazing. Yes, indeed, there is enough evidence to show what's happening at Mount St. Helens. It's happening all the time. It's happening every day of the week. All the time. Richard Smith is here from Nova Scotia, Canada, and is telling us about earthquakes over in Italy. A 2.4 earthquake in southern Italy. Not surprising. Not surprising. And NCWQ also had to remind everybody that yes, the map or the seismograms are in military time. They're in military time. So if you see 1300 hours or 13 on the left-hand side, it really means 1 p.m. If you see 0800, it's 8 a.m. If you see 1800 hours, it's 6 p.m. Just so you know. And now another 1.6 in Slovenia. Richard Smith is telling us about in the chat. Well, guess what? How much you want to bet that USGS does not show anything in Slovenia today? I'll bet you they don't. They won't do it. They won't do it. They don't have what it takes to be truthful with anybody. They just don't. I hate even saying that. Because at one point in time in my life, when I was back in high school and college, I looked up to the USGS. But again, they are not being honest with anybody. They can't be honest. Their management doesn't know how, because politicians are telling them to lie. Yes, the politicians are telling USGS managers to lie, to not be truthful about what's going on. Let's go south to Mount Hood. I just love this. Let's take a look just north of Mount Hood. Lamberson Butte. Look at this. Lamberson Butte. This is another Pacific Northwest Seismic Network seismogram. Look at this. At the top left, we see 1700 hours. That's 5 p.m. last night. 5 p.m. last night. Look at the magma coming into this magma chamber. It's causing earthquakes. That's what we were seeing here. Every line here has been almost completely obliterated by color. There is a lot of magma coming into this volcano causing these earthquakes. What you're seeing are earthquakes and tremors here at Mount Hood, Lamberson Butte. The same elevation as Mount Hood is. This is just north of Mount Hood itself. Let's show you Barrett Spur. I can't wait to show you Barrett Spur. I've looked forward to this all day. This is Barrett Spur. See the individual lines here? They're fairly thin, huh? They're fairly thin. Some of them are thicker than others. That means there's more magma coming into the magma chamber here at Barrett Spur. Barrett Spur is a volcanic field just north of Mount Hood. There was a volcano there. There was a volcanic vent there that had erupted a lot of years ago. That's why we're seeing these lines here. That's why we're seeing these lines. Barrett Spur is a volcano unto itself, just north of Mount Hood. But look at this earthquake here. Look at this earthquake here this afternoon. Right there. Just after 12 noon. 12:04 p.m. this afternoon. A 3.0 earthquake. A 3.0 small earthquake here at Barrett Spur on the north side of Mount Hood. Fascinating, huh? I thought you might get a kick out of that. Mount Hood is also showing us signs of a possible eruption. Showing us signs of a possible eruption. Let's show you Palmer Lift. Palmer Lift is a ski resort up about 2/3 of the way up the slope of Mount St. Helens, or Mount Hood. About 2/3 of the way up the south side of Mount Hood. Up at the top of this seismogram here, that's last night. We're seeing tremors here. We're seeing magma coming into Mount Hood, but it's only causing tremors. But enough magma coming in and fracturing rock inside Mount St. Helens. That's what we're seeing here. But guess what? What we're also seeing here, folks, is the seismograph has been turned down. The seismograph has been turned down. Look what we're showing you here. Almost complete nothing. Almost complete nothing after approximately 10 p.m. last night. Yes, we're seeing some tiny tremors here. Tiny marks on the seismograph. We believe the seismograph was turned down. The seismograph was turned down, and the force of the events happening at Mount Hood was forcing the seismograph to record something. To record tiny tremors. These were probably earthquakes. These were probably earthquakes. But the seismologists turned the machine down. Look at this. Look at this, guys. This is after 1 p.m. today. After 1 p.m. All of a sudden they decide to turn the seismograph back up. A little tiny bit. But again, each individual line is showing activity. 15 minutes worth of activity per line. This is a lot of magma coming into the magma chamber of this volcano, Mount Hood. This is Palmer Lift. And yes, we are seeing tiny vertical lines on these lines. Tremors caused by magma coming into the volcano, fracturing rock. Mount Hood. Mount Hood, guys. This isn't the only one I want to show you. I just love this. I just love this. Let me show you timberline. The seismograph that records timberline is down at Government Camp on the very southwest side of the volcano. There is a parking lot. There is a building called Government Camp. Guess what? The seismograph is in that building. Look what we're showing you here. At the top, you're seeing these horizontal lines. The thinner lines are not a lot of magma. Then the lines become thicker. That's recording more and more magma coming into the magma chamber. And then we have tremors and earthquakes here. Tremors and earthquakes. Vertical lines, tiny vertical lines are tremors. These longer vertical lines are 2.0 earthquakes. Tremors and earthquakes here at Mount Hood. Timberline, Government Camp. Let's move down here. Let me show you this. After 7:30 on this lighter blue line here. Look at that. A lot of magma coming into the magma chamber, and we're seeing 2.0 earthquakes and a bunch of tremors. Magma pulse signals. Magma pulse signals. Smaller, thinner lines turning into thicker lines, causing earthquakes and tremors. Folks, it is hammering rain down here. It's hammering rain. We were told earlier this afternoon, both by the National Weather Service and our apps on our phones, that rain was expected this afternoon, and it just barely started raining. It was barely sprinkling about 3 o'clock this afternoon. Now it's hammering. You can actually see the raindrops bouncing off the parking lot of my apartment complex. Incredible. Anyway, let's get back to this volcano, Mount Hood. Look at this. Here we're seeing magma pulse signals again. Thicker lines. Thicker lines. Okay? Thinner lines turning into thicker lines, and thicker lines turning into thinner lines here. That is a lot of magma here. That is a lot of magma after 1 p.m. today. Before that, they had actually turned down the seismograph. You can see it. Magma doesn't just turn itself down. Not like they're showing it here. And then all of a sudden, after 1 p.m. today, 1300 hours today is 1 p.m. over on the left-hand side. Look what happened. More and more magma pouring into Mount Hood here. Look at that. And still, USGS did not issue a volcanic advisory. They have kept this volcano at green. Normal. Green normal here at Mount Hood. Incredible. Incredible. These volcanoes, guys, are getting ready to erupt. Not so much Mount Hood, but Helens and Rainier are getting ready. But you're seeing a lot of magma coming into the volcano here at Mount Hood. Okay? We haven't seen this in a lot of years. About 3 or 4 years. But again, maybe, just maybe, the USGS and the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network have decided, oh, Ron's not that much of a threat. Well, guess what? I'm showing you. I am showing you what's going on. Okay? Now, I want to go further south in Oregon. Mount Hood is the first volcano in Oregon that we talked about. It's the first major volcano in Oregon. The next one is Newberry Volcano. Look at this. All of these volcanoes are getting ready. Look at that. I haven't seen this much activity at Newberry Volcano in about 3 years. 3.5 years ago, we were showing you showing you this all the time. Just like this. Look at that. Each individual line shows you a great deal of magma coming into the magma chamber at Cichel. Cichel. C-I-H-L. That is the name of the seismograph at Newberry Volcano. Look at these lines. Each of these lines represents 15 minutes worth of time. The top of this seismogram starts out at 5 p.m. yesterday. But you're seeing magma hoarding into the volcano, pouring in. Mary M. is saying, time to pack up and get out while you can. What more evidence do you need? I will never tell you to leave. That is something you need to do for yourself. That is something that you need to do for yourself. I will never tell you to do anything other than prepare a preparedness kit, write a preparedness plan, store water, make sure you have proper shoes and clothing for the elements. Make sure you're prepared for whatever is going to happen. I will tell you that. I will tell you that. But what you're seeing here is proof positive of what's going on at these volcanoes. Each and every one of them. And on this particular seismogram, you're seeing vertical lines. Earthquakes, guys. Earthquakes. Anywhere from 2.5 to 3.0 earthquakes here at Newberry Volcano. Fact. Fact. That's what we're seeing here. We haven't seen it here at Newberry Volcano in at least 3 years. But those of you that have been with me over that time period, you've seen this happen because I've shown it to you. I've shown it to you. Again, Newberry Volcano is in Oregon. It's in Oregon. The next one I'm going to show you is Sisters Volcano. Sisters Volcano is actually a complex of 3 volcanoes. Sisters North, Sisters Central, and Sisters South. Let me show you what's going on here. Okay? Now, on this particular seismogram, you're seeing tremors. You're seeing tremors. You're also seeing thicker and thinner lines here. Again, magma coming into the magma chamber at any specific time. The thinner lines show you less magma, the thicker lines showing you more magma. You're also seeing tremors. You're also seeing small magma blobs coming into the volcano. Look down here. Sisters volcanoes are moving. These are earthquakes. These are earthquakes at Sisters volcanoes. They only have one seismograph showing activity at 3 different volcanoes. Go figure. You would think that USGS and the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network would put out money to put a seismograph at each of the volcanoes. Most of the volcanoes that we've told you about tonight have at least 8 to 10 seismographs all around them, showing you activity. The only one that doesn't is Glacier Peak. Glacier Peak. Glacier Peak has 1. Last year they said they were going to put up 5 others, but we've not seen anything about it since. At one point a few years ago they were talking about putting more seismographs at Glacier Peak, but they said the marmot. The marmot there. These naturalists here in the United States, environmentalists, oh, you're going to harm the marmot. You might scare some marmots. Marmots are like dogs, wild dogs, small, tiny, wild dogs. We're not going to scare these marmots. We're not going to scare these marmots at all. But the environmentalists would have us believe we are. Folks, we have to know what's going on at these volcanoes. They're going to erupt. You're seeing earthquakes here at Sisters Volcanoes. A lot of earthquakes here. Demon Catman is saying marmosets held protests. Oh yeah, can you see that? A bunch of marmots with these tiny little signs saying, "Go away, USGS." I could just see that happening. I might even find a picture of a marmot and put a sign on it. Yes, I can do that. I don't have Adobe, whatever it is. I don't have it. But I would love to design a picture showing a protest sign held in a marmot's paw. I think that would be hilarious. I think that would be hilarious. But here, even at Sisters Volcano, you're seeing, or Sisters Volcanoes plural, because it's just 3 volcanoes here, you're seeing earthquakes here. Earthquakes caused by magma beneath the surface inside the magma chamber of these volcanoes. Unreal. The next one I'm going to show you will be my last volcano here. I do have a lot of things to talk about tonight. Still. The next volcano I'm going to talk about is Crater Lake. One of our dear friends that monitors this program and talks about fires. Fires in Washington and Oregon. Yes, he's still there. Talking about fires. He has his own channel. He is just west of Crater Lake. South and west of Crater Lake. Watch this. This is south central Crater Lake. It's called the bunkhouse. The seismograph is called the bunkhouse seismograph. Look at this. You're seeing each individual line. Each individual line is thicker or thinner. Again, magma pulse signals. Magma pulse signals. You're also seeing some earthquakes. Look at that. You're seeing some earthquakes causing those vibrational lines. Crater Lake is a huge volcano with hundreds of thousands of gallons of cold water at the top of it. Yet this volcano is moving. This volcano is moving. John Francis says Ron should sell earthquake t-shirts. I've thought about that. I've seriously thought about that. Designing a t-shirt with seismographs on it, or seismograms on it. I think that would be a kick. And then at the bottom, Emergency Management Associates. I may just do that. Thanks, John. That sounds like a great idea. Patty Rooney's here. Thank you for being here, Patty. We appreciate you. But anyway, this is Bunkhouse, South Central Crater Lake. Over on the southeast side of Crater Lake, there's another seismograph there. It's called Mount Scott. Well, guess what? They have turned Mount Scott seismograph off. Heaven forbid they tell us what's going on at Crater Lake. But the northeast side of Crater Lake, they have the seismograph up. How about that? Fleetwood Cove, the northeast side of Crater Lake. Let me show you this. I'm going to show you two seismographs here. Seismograms are the paper, the data sheet, written up by the seismograph. Look at this, guys. Look at this. 5 p.m. over on the top. 1700 hours. It says 17. That's 5 p.m. yesterday evening. Look, we're seeing tremors here. Tremors and or earthquakes here right off the bat. Right off the bat last night. You can see the movement caused by magma coming into the Crater Lake volcano. After that, you see nothing but tremors. And on each individual vertical or horizontal line here, you're seeing magma here. Magma pulse signals. But very little thin lines here. Thin lines getting a little bit thicker and getting thinner again. Magma pulse signals here again. They turned the seismograph way down here. way down until early this morning. That's typically what we see. They turn it down about 8 or 9 p.m. In this case, it was just after 11 when they finally really turned it down. Before that, you just barely see magma coming into the magma chamber and some tremors. They had it turned way down. Then, just after 8 a.m. this morning, they turned the seismograph back up. All of a sudden, we have earthquakes, don't we? We have tons of earthquakes and tremors. Incredible. It really is. Crater Lake volcano is moving. Crater Lake volcano is moving and it's shaking. You can't make this up. It's moving and shaking. Well, guess what? Wait till I show you the next seismogram. You're going to love this one. This is Cleetwood Cove VLF channel. Cleetwood Cove BHN. This particular seismograph is a multi-channel seismograph. It shows us 3 different ideas. Showing us 3 different kinds of seismograms. This particular seismogram is also showing us a lot of magma coming into the volcano. These wavy lines, like I said, are actually magma coming into this volcano. A lot of magma coming into this volcano. You can see it here. You can see it here. USGS is not going to say this. I even looked for USGS seismogram and they don't want to show it. Heaven forbid. This seismogram comes from the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network. But again, what are we seeing? A lot of magma coming into this magma chamber. Look at this afternoon. Late this morning and early afternoon. Look at that. A ton of magma coming in here. Heidi Petrick just gave us another $5 super chat. Thank you, Heidi. We appreciate that. I'm going to give you an EMA sticker on your super chat. I'm also going to give you a thumbs up. Thank you for that, Heidi. We appreciate that. God bless you for it. We really love you, Heidi. Heidi is one of our members of our EMA family. If you want to become a member on this channel, just below this video today, there is a little button that says join. Click on that. I've kept the member fees low, so anybody and everybody can afford to be a member of this channel. $1.99 at the bottom end, the middle end is $2.99, and $3.99 at the top end. Some channels are charging $5 on the short end and $15 or $20 on the top end. I've seen it. I kept the membership fees here low so everybody can join. So if you want to join and become a member of the Emergency Management Associates network here on YouTube, you can do that. We greatly appreciate it. In doing so, you're helping us keep this channel on the air. It takes money to keep it on here. Okay? It takes money to keep this channel going. Okay? We love you. We love each and every one of you. It means the world to me. I love talking to you guys. I love helping you guys. I help you learn. I help you understand. Folks, this is important. These volcanoes are going to erupt. At some point in time, they're going to erupt, especially this one, because the top of the volcano is full of water. At some point in time, this volcano is going to erupt, and guess what? Very, very, very hot lava hitting this cold water is going to cause a phreatic eruption. A catastrophic phreatic eruption. Steam and ash and rock flying high in the air. Steam, ash, and rock flying high in the air. It won't be pretty. It won't be pretty. Yes, Linda Cummings says we're keeping the lights on here. I appreciate that so much. I really do. Now, Richard Smith is talking about earthquakes in Hawaii. Earthquakes in Hawaii have not stopped. It's not as bad as it was last week when we had 300 earthquakes a day. Yeah, 300 earthquakes a day. Last weekend it was up to 500 earthquakes. 500 earthquakes in Hawaii, just south and east of Kilauea. Like I said, I still believe Kilauea is going to erupt, but the volcano itself is not going to erupt. You're not going to see an eruption in Holly Mountain crater, but you will see fissures open up south and east of Kilauea in Fern Forest and Leilani Estates. That will happen. That will happen. Richard Smith says, or just told us, that there's a 2.4 earthquake in the Aegean Sea. The Aegean Sea is a body of water separating North and South Greece. North and Southern Greece. Earthquakes. They have tons of earthquakes there. Tremors and earthquakes. Tremors and earthquakes all over that area. There are probably 45 earthquakes in Greece today. 45 earthquakes north and south Greece. And yet USGS is not showing any of them. Not one. That's typical. John Francis says he wants to join our EMA family here on YouTube. He says, I will join soon. Need to check payment methods I can trust with YouTube. I agree. I am a member of 2 channels myself. One of them is Wages World. Wages World. Before I go any further, I would highly recommend all of you go and show Wages World some love. Wages World is a dear friend of mine. Mark Wages is his name. A very dear friend of mine. He and his family are great people. Wages World has been talking about solar eruptions. Solar eruptions. Sunspots erupting. Coronal mass ejections. With a lot of radiation. A lot of radiation coming out of the eruption. That radiation is causing geomagnetic storms just outside the Earth. Yes, it's also causing auroras. You will see auroras at the North and South Poles. But it's also disrupting communications. Communications between aircraft and air traffic control, disrupting communications between the space station and NASA and Roscosmos in Russia, disrupting satellite communications as well. Ham radio communications, police, fire, and medical personnel radios having problems. You can hear it. You can hear it on the shortwave, crackling on shortwave. You can hear it on ham radio as well. Okay? Some satellites have been lost out of space, knocked down, and have re-entered the Earth's atmosphere as a result of some of these solar eruptions, coronal mass ejections. Now, during this past weekend, on the backside of the sun, not Earth facing, but the backside of the sun, we had an X-Class 14 flare. An X-Class 14 flare. We had an X13, an X11, and an X9. Those sunspots will be Earth facing very soon. Those sunspots will be Earth facing very soon. Which means we may get a direct hit from the sunspots and will be Earth facing, and we may suffer all sorts of circumstances. We talked about this before. All of us need to be aware of what's going on around us and how these sunspots and the solar radiation affect us, because each and every one of us are beings, human beings and animals, and the solar flares affect each one of us and how we work, how we think, and what we do. Be safe. If we have a major solar eruption, stay in the house. Stay inside a building. Don't go out. Stay inside your home or stay inside a building. Don't go out. That's the best way you can keep protected from these solar flares. Okay? Now, there's something else I want to talk about. That's very important. But I'm going to let senators talk about it. I'm going to let senators talk about it. I have quite a few, well, not quite a few, I have 4 videos I want to show you. The first one is Rand Paul. Rand Paul from early this morning. I want to show you this. Please pay attention to what he's saying. This is important. This is very important. Listen to this and watch him.
Director Rowe, I'm encouraged by your attitude, what you brought here today, what you've talked about as far as immediate.
By the way, he's talking to the new Secret Service Director, who is actually the acting Secret Service Director, Rowe, and his accomplice, who's also there. Watch him and listen, and this is just one of 3 others that I'm going to show you.
Changes that you've made, and I hope you'll follow through with that. I'm encouraged by the fact that you acknowledge that it's indefensible that the roof was unattended. Would you say the roof being unattended breaches standard protocol for setting up a security perimeter?
What I would say, Senator, is that that roof should have had better coverage, and we will get to the bottom of if there were any policy violations.
I would think indefensible would go along with breaching protocol, and I can't imagine how indefensible would not be breaching protocol. What I would caution, though, is that I sense, and you're the Secret Service, and these people are your friends, and they are heroic people who do good things, that we can't let our friendships blind us from responsibility. So someone's in charge of the security at the zone. Would the Secret Service be in charge of the entire operation, and they work with law enforcement, but they're in charge? The person in charge of the entire operation is the Secret Service, not the local police.
You're correct, sir. This is a failure of the Secret Service.
So that's what I mean. And look, I don't wish anybody harm. I appreciate the bravery of the Capitol Hill police. I was at the shooting at the ball field. I've heard 100 shots coming my way. Fortunately, none came to me. But I appreciate the bravery of all the people who protect us. But there's also the idea that there are certain mistakes that don't make you a bad person, but they're just inexcusable, that if you made that mistake. So for example, let's say you determine, well, local police should have been on there and they told us, and local police says, no, they didn't tell us to do it, and it's a he said, she said. Still, ultimately, the agent in charge should be walking the grounds and say, there's a roof 100 yards away from the stadium with a clear sight. Someone's got to be on the roof. Local police, I told you to get on the roof, get on the roof. Or you put the Secret Service, so ultimately the buck doesn't pass along to somebody. Whoever's in charge is in charge. But really, I think it would be helpful to all of us. I know the process has to be meted out, but there needs to also be a process for protecting the next Trump rally. The fact that whoever was in charge in Butler next week is not in charge of a rally in Las Vegas. And so I think you really should say that. You should simply say that the leadership from that event is going through a process, but until that process, they won't be in charge of the Democrat National Convention. That would reassure a lot of people that they won't be in charge of security until it's determined. Can you tell us something to that accord?
Yes, sir. So I can tell you that the team planning the Democratic National Convention, that is a national special security event. That team has been on the ground. That's from DC with support from our Chicago field office. But I just want to reiterate that our Pittsburgh field office staff, they are wearing this harder than anybody right now in the Secret Service. Right. They feel completely demoralized. And what I'm trying to do is also let them know that, listen, they need to be focused on the mission at hand. I also have to walk a tightrope here and make sure that I am not tainting any future discipline action.
I understand, and I have great respect for all the officers, but ultimately someone had to be in charge and someone made a terrible error, and it's an error of judgment. The big error is the roof. But another big error is we have 90 minutes of a suspicious person. Now, Senator Durbin mentioned the rangefinder. None of these are enough to shoot a suspicious person, but they certainly, you would think, would be enough to stop the proceedings. That's where I think you get to the second major management or judgment error of this. Now, Trump's done probably 100 rallies like this. How often at one of his rallies are there 90 minutes of looking at one person and at least a half a dozen pictures of that person? How often does that happen? And is it against protocol to let a proceeding go on when you've got a suspicious person, 90 minutes worth of people talking about this person, and we don't stop the proceeding? Does that defy protocol?
So Senator, so while there's 90 minutes in total from when he's first identified by local law enforcement, we have about a 30-minute window. But at no time is there anything ever communicated about weapon or harm. And I think that's where the threat.
A weapon, you shoot people with a weapon.
Sure.
Without a weapon, we're talking about people you stop and say, he had a backpack, which was probably big enough to have the AR-15 in it. In all likelihood, the backpack has the weapon in it. So a guy with a big backpack would never get through the perimeter. So once again, a big mistake was not having the perimeter wide enough to prevent people from shooting outside the perimeter. But the thing is, he would have never gotten through the perimeter, right? His backpack would have been checked. But people with big backpacks are very suspicious. And I would think he's been seen 6 times, but you got 20 or 30 minutes of knowing about it. But the thing is, there's all kinds of chatter going on about this. And you would think the chatter going on with the local police is on a police radio, and a policeman with that radio is standing in the control tent, so you get that communication. So there's a huge and massive breakdown. But really my question is, how often has this happened at other rallies where there's a half a dozen pictures and 90 minutes of people talking about a suspicious person? I just can't imagine that it's real common.
So, Senator, at rallies, there are people that come to the attention of law enforcement for a variety of reasons. You know, if they come to our attention for some other activity that might, you know, put it a little bit, hey, we probably need to go check that individual out. This happens, and that's why we attempt to locate them. That's why it's important for us to try to find them. And it's important to have the information. And so local law enforcement did their very level best to try to locate him. They did provide us the photos 30 minutes prior. It just, he evaded any detection by law enforcement.
But once again, it's the overall person in charge. It's a terrible breakdown. It's a terrible management decision not to have stopped it. There was a chance to stop the proceeding. And the question is not whether there's enough information to take down an individual. It's a much lower standard to say, hey, we're going to wait until we get this individual. The roof and the 90 minutes of it, both I think are failure of your protocol. And I think when that's determined, the person who made these decisions can't be in a position of authority again.
Okay, listen to that. The person that was in charge here should not be in charge again. Okay? Each of these senators I'm going to show you tonight echo the same philosophy. Wait till you hear Senator Hawley. Wait till you hear Senator Hawley. This is real, guys. This is where the crap hits the fan here. The man on the right-hand side is Paul Abate. He is the Deputy Director of the Secret Service. The man you see and hear talking beside him is Ronald Rowe. He is the Deputy Director, or he is the Director of the Secret Service right now, the Acting Director. Watch this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Rowe, can you put your first poster, your first demonstrative back up?
Please put A up, please.
Let's make sure everybody can see it. This is the photograph, I believe, that you took, your team took of the roof, the AGR roof. Yeah, that's the one. Okay, so from this vantage point, as the law enforcement who are in those windows, as they look left, they should be able to see the shooter clearly there on the AGR second floor roof. My question is, why is there not a Secret Service counter sniper on that roof?
So, Senator, we're when we post up, our methodology is to look at things that can see in on our protectees, so that they can provide that coverage.
But why is there not a Secret Service counter sniper there with clear line of sight? That roof has a clear line of sight to the former president. Why didn't you put a Secret Service counter sniper there?
The Secret Service's counter sniper role is to neutralize those threats that are looking in on us from where the protectee is, not necessarily.
Notice he's avoiding the question. Notice that he is avoiding the question.
You think maybe you might want to revise that protocol in light of what happened here?
They were protecting the principal, and I think
the principal got shot.
I understand that, sir.
So do you think you might want to revise the protocol? Let me ask you this. Who was the lead site agent who made the decision to leave the AGR building completely outside of the security perimeter?
Notice the answer to this question.
Who was that?
Senator, I cannot give you that name. This person is operational. They're still doing investigations. They're still doing protective visits.
Have they been relieved of duty?
Senator, they have not been relieved of duty.
I know their name, by the way. Why have they not been relieved of duty?
They are still cooperating, not only being interviewed by the FBI, but also by our Office of Professional Responsibility. And we will let the facts of the mission assurance and any further investigations play out.
Isn't the fact that a former president was shot, that a good American is dead, that other Americans were critically wounded, isn't that enough mission failure for you to say that the person who decided that that building should not be in the security perimeter probably ought to be stepped down?
Senator, I think you're using the word decided, and I think we need to allow the investigation play out to include.
So who did make the decision then? If it wasn't the lead site agent, who made the decision not to put that in the security perimeter?
Senator, you're zeroing in on one particular agent. I want to find out exactly what was the entire decision process. So I think I want to be neutral and make sure that we get to the bottom of it and interview everybody in order to determine if there was more than one person who perhaps exercised bad judgment.
Well, sure. My question is, why don't you relieve everybody of duty who made bad judgment? So yeah, you're right, I am zeroing in on somebody. I'm trying to find somebody who's accountable here.
And you're
telling me that the person who made the decision not to include this in the perimeter has not been relieved of duty. What about the person who's in charge of the interoperability of radio frequencies between local law enforcement and Secret Service? Has that person been relieved of duty?
No, Senator, because interoperability is a challenge, is a greater challenge than just one person. On that day, we had a counterpart system. It failed spectacularly.
As the person who made the decision to send Donald Trump onto stage knowing that you had a security situation, has that person been relieved of duty?
No, sir, they haven't.
Has the person who decided not to pull the former president off of stage when you knew that, in your words, the locals were working a serious security situation, has that person been relieved of duty?
No, sir. Again, I refer you back to my original answer that we are investigating this through a mission assurance. And as opposed to zeroing in on one,
what more do you need to investigate to know
exactly what the decision-making process was? What more do you need to investigate
to know that there were critical enough failures that some individuals ought to be held accountable? I mean, what more do you need to know?
What I need to know is exactly what happened, and I need my investigators to do their job. And I cannot.
A lot of people didn't do their jobs.
I cannot put my thumb on the scale, otherwise.
What do you mean put your thumb on the scale?
You're asking me, Senator, to completely make a rush to judgment about somebody failing. I acknowledge this was a failure of the Secret Service.
Is it not prima facie that somebody has failed? A former president was shot.
Sir, this could have been our Texas school book depository. I have lost sleep over that for the last 17 days, just like you have.
Somebody to hold them accountable.
I will tell you, Senator, that I will not rush to judgment, that people will be held accountable, and I will do so with integrity and not rush to judgment and put people unfairly persecuted.
Unfairly persecuted?
Unfairly,
We've got people who are
we
dead.
have to be able to have a proper investigation into this, Senator.
You said earlier that you've got to make sure that your protocols are followed, and unless there's a protocol violation, people wouldn't be disciplined. I would just say to you, I don't really care that much about your protocols. I think if your protocols don't provide for the fact that when a former president is shot, when an American is killed, when other rally-goers, innocent people who just showed up on the day, when they are shot at and critically wounded, if that isn't a protocol violation prima facie, you should revise your protocols.
Senator, I think this is where you and I agree. This was a failure, and we will get to the bottom of it.
Well, I hope you're going to do something about it. Let me ask you something else. The Real Clear Politics reports this morning that you were directly involved in denying additional security resources and personnel, including counter snipers, not just to this event, but over the last 2 years, that President Trump's team repeatedly asked for these additional resources, and you personally were involved in denying them. Is that true?
Senator, as I stated earlier, that is not true.
So you never denied any resources to former President Trump's team?
No, not me. No, sir.
And you weren't involved in any of that? You were never involved in the decision-making?
No, sir, I was not.
Let me ask you just one or two other things here quickly. Well, whistleblowers tell me that, in fact, law enforcement were stationed to be on that roof, and that law enforcement abandoned their post because it was too hot. Is that accurate?
Senator, I have heard that as well. Again, they posted up inside, And I think moving forward, as I said earlier, we're going to ensure that state and local counter snipers are on roofs.
But do you know if someone was supposed to be on the roof? Do you know if someone was in fact? That's what the whistleblower tells me. That may or may not be accurate. Do you know that to be the fact? Was somebody posted to the roof, local law enforcement or whomever?
I do not know that to be a fact.
Well, can I ask you why you don't know that?
Again, Senator, we are looking at this, and they should have been on that roof. And the fact that they were in the building is something that I'm still trying to understand.
I just want to express my frustration, Director, that 17 days or whatever it's been, that whistleblowers are telling us more than you are, and you don't know, you haven't ascertained if there was supposed to be law enforcement on the roof. That seems like a pretty basic fact. I'm also told that local law enforcement suppliers offered the Secret Service drones, and you declined them. Is that true?
So, Senator, one, I've been very transparent and forthcoming.
Your agency has not been transparent and forthcoming, so please, let's not go there.
I have been forthcoming, sir.
That remains to be seen. You've been on the job a few days. So far, you've fired nobody. Now, the drones.
Thank you,
Were
sir.
you offered drones?
Senator
So there
Hawley.
was an offer to fly a drone on that day.
And why did you deny it?
Again, I think the ability of local law enforcement to provide an asset, we probably should have taken them up on it if it was offered.
Okay. That's Senator Hawley. Question. He pointed out many, many, many times that the Secret Service dropped the ball. And in fact, Acting Director Rowe screwed up. He was in fact in charge. He was in charge. He denies turning President Trump down for protection. But he was in charge. Let me show you another one. This is Senator Cruz next. Wait till you hear this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Rowe, thank you for being here. I agree with what you said at the outset, that the individual Secret Service agents demonstrated remarkable personal courage, putting their bodies in between the line of sight of the shooter and the president. That being said, the bravery of the line agents is quite different from the decisions of Secret Service leadership. Secret Service leadership committed catastrophic security failures, indeed the worst security failures for the Secret Service since 1981, since the attempted assassination of President Ronald Reagan. It is incumbent upon this committee to determine why those security failures happened. Just after the shooting, Secret Service put out an official statement from your spokesperson that says there's an untrue assertion that a member of the former president's team requested additional security resources and that those were rebuffed. This is absolutely false. In fact, we added protective resources and technology and capabilities as part of the increased campaign travel tempo. Was this tweet accurate?
With respect to Butler, Pennsylvania, it is accurate, sir.
It is accurate that the Trump team had not asked for additional security and had not been rebuffed.
If you're talking about Butler, Pennsylvania, all assets requested were approved. If you're talking about the media reporting of assets requested, there were times when assets were unavailable and not able to be filled, and those gaps were staffed with state and local law enforcement tactical assets.
So I'm reading from the Washington Post, July 20th, 2024. Secret Service said to have denied requests for more security at Trump events. The opening paragraph, top officials at the U.S. Secret Service repeatedly denied requests for additional resources and personnel sought by Donald Trump's security detail in the 2 years leading up to his attempted assassination, according to 4 people familiar with the requests. Is that right, that repeatedly the Trump detail asked for more resources and repeatedly Secret Service leadership turned that down?
That is not accurate, Senator. Assets are requested. There's a process that is made. And
how many requests did the Trump team or the Trump detail ask for?
I can get you that number in a queue.
You don't know now.
So I can speak to the ones that reported in the Washington Post, and we can go through them if you like.
But you don't know how many requests there were.
In general, how many requests since 2021 that the former Trump detail has made a request for assets?
You've had 2 weeks. You had a spokesperson put something out that is false on its face. By the way, did you approve this statement when it went out?
I don't know if I did or didn't, Senator.
Has this spokesperson, is he still employed? Does he still have a job?
He is still employed, Senator.
So he lied on behalf of the Secret Service. He still has a job. Did your predecessor, the former director, did she approve this statement?
Senator, our comms team, they send out statements, they do deconflict them, and they put them out.
Did she approve this statement?
I don't know if she did or did not, Senator.
And you don't know if you did either?
I don't recall approving it, Senator.
Will you commit to provide this committee in writing every written request for additional resources from the Trump campaign or the Trump detail and every response from Secret Service?
Senator, I will commit to providing responses and getting you the information that you are seeking.
May I ask you something? And who makes the decision to deny those requests? Did you make that decision?
Which requests? Are you talking about the ones that were in the
Any of
Washington
them.
Post?
Yes.
So the process, sir, is that a detail will make a request for either staffing, technical assets, that is handled between the field office and the detail. It goes up to a logistics office between our
Okay,
office
so
of
there's a bureaucracy. Is there a decision maker?
It's not a bureaucracy,
Give
Senator.
me
It's
the
a
person
process.
that's the decision maker. Is there one?
Senator, it's a conversation. It's not just an absolute yay or nay.
So let me tell you what I believe. I believe that the Secret Service leadership made a political decision to deny these requests. And I think the Biden administration has been suffused with partisan politics. Did the same person who denied the request for additional security to President Trump also repeatedly deny the request for security to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., whose father was murdered by an assassin and whose uncle was murdered by an assassin? Did the same person make that decision?
Senator, what I will tell you is that Secret Service agents are not political.
Okay, you're not answering my question. But you know what? Leadership appointed by the president, leadership appointed by the president is political. I have a simple question, yes or no. Did the same person deny the Trump request that also denied the RFK request? That's a yes or no question.
Senator, that is not a yes or no question. One, there is a process for a candidate nominee to receive protection.
Does the buck stop anywhere? Does the buck stop anywhere?
Bipartisan process that the Hill participates.
It's a bicameral, bipartisan process. What camera?
For a candidate,
you are not a Congress. You don't have a camera.
Mr. Kennedy submitted a request that was referred over to the CPAC.
Okay, you're refusing to answer the question. Let me ask, because the failures on that day were catastrophic. By the way, is it true that on the day of the Butler event that Secret Service transferred agent from President Trump to the First Lady?
No, sir, that's not true.
That's been widely reported.
It's not.
That question is what I gave Ted Cruz to talk about. He asked my question, and verbally, the Secret Service denied it. The Secret Service denied it. It's plain and simple here. Ted Cruz asked that question because I sent it to him.
True. There was one airport agent that actually went on the manpower request for the Trump detail. They handled the arrival at the airport.
What was the
and
relative size of the Trump detail compared to the detail that is assigned to the President or the First Lady?
Senator, the former president travels with a full shift, just like the president.
So the exact same size? Is that your testimony, that President Trump had the same size detail that President Biden has?
On the day of in Butler, the agents surrounding him, it is the same number of agents surrounding the president today. There is a difference between a sitting president who also not only
Hold on, you're using president in a way that is not clear. Is it your testimony that in Butler, Pennsylvania, Donald Trump had the same number of agents protecting him that Joe Biden has at a comparable event?
I'm telling you the shift, the close protection shift surrounding.
That's
what
yes or
you
no?
asked me, Senator, and I'm trying to answer it.
You are not answering it. Is it the same number of agents or not?
Senator, there is a difference between the sitting president of the United States.
Then what's the difference?
The difference?
2x, 3x, 5x,
National
10x?
Command Authority to launch a nuclear strike, sir.
I'm not
there are other
asking.
assets
How many more
travel with
agents?
the president that
Sir,
the former president will
you are
not get.
refusing to
but
answer
the number
straight.
of Secret Service
Sir,
agents protecting him.
Stop interrupting me.
Go ahead,
You
Senator.
are refusing to answer clear and direct questions. I am asking the relative difference in the number of agents between those assigned to Donald Trump and those assigned to Joe Biden. I'm not asking why you assign more to Joe Biden. I'm asking, is the difference, is it 2x? Is it 3x? Is it 5x? Is it 10x?
Senator, I will get you that number so you can see it with your own eyes.
He will get the senator and all of the Senate that number so he can see it with their own eyes. Really? Really? They're going to give that information out? I doubt it. I doubt it. Let's listen to Senator Kennedy finish this up. This is good stuff. Watch this.
Senator Kennedy, you're recognized for your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Abate, am I saying your name right?
Yes, Senator, thank you.
You are the Deputy Director of the FBI, is that correct?
Yes, Senator.
Is there any doubt in your mind or in the collective mind of the FBI that President Trump was shot in the ear by a bullet fired by the assassin crooks?
Senator, there is absolutely no doubt in the FBI's mind whether former President Trump was hit with a bullet and wounded in the ear. No doubt, there never has been.
Okay.
I've been part of this investigation since the very beginning, and that has never been raised.
You're sure?
Yes.
It wasn't a space laser.
No.
It wasn't a murder hornet.
Absolutely not.
It wasn't Sasquatch.
No, Senator.
It was a bullet.
It was a bullet, Senator. 100%.
Fired by crooks.
Yes, sir.
That hit President Trump in the ear and almost killed him.
100%, Senator.
Okay, glad we cleared that up. I don't want to get off the subject here. Did the FBI just settle 2 lawsuits, one wholly, one in part, in which the FBI agreed to give Peter Strzok $1.2 million and Ms. Lisa Page $800,000?
Okay, what is this? Let me tell you what this is. Okay? This was before President Trump, these actions by Strzok and Ms. Page happened before President Trump was even elected. Ms. Page asked Agent Strzok, who was head of part of the Secret Service, the FBI at the time. I'm sorry, not the Secret Service, but the FBI. Peter Strzok was head of the FBI, and Ms. Page was having an affair with him. And Ms. Page asked Peter Strzok, are we going to make sure President Trump doesn't get office? He said yes. Watch the information here. This is important. This is very important. Because who is investigating the Secret Service? The FBI.
It's my understanding, Senator, that the Department of Justice was involved in that, not the FBI.
The FBI had nothing to do with it?
There may have been consultation with our general counsel's office, but
Does the FBI have to sign off on it?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't believe so, but I would want to confirm that.
I would like you to, this would be the same Lisa Page who said to Mr. Strzok, quote, Trump's not ever going to become president, right? Right, to which Mr. Strzok said, quote, no, he won't. We will stop it. That's the Peter Strzok and Lisa Page I'm talking about. I need to know if the FBI signed off on this lawsuit.
We will get that
settlement.
answer for you, Senator.
And then I need to know who signed off on it. Did you sign off on it?
I absolutely did not and would never sign off on something
Did Chris
like that.
Wray sign off on it, the settlement?
I don't believe he did.
Okay. Did you don't know what?
Nor do I think he would have.
You need to let me know who signed off on this, if anyone at the FBI. So it was Merrick Garland.
Okay, guys, who signed off to pay Peter Strzok over $1 million to settle a lawsuit over something that Peter Strzok said. And Peter Strzok did. Peter Strzok at the time was an FBI agent. So was Page. So was Page. They were in cahoots to take out President Trump, either to kill him or stop him from becoming president. They were in cahoots with Hillary Clinton. Okay? That's where this is. Yet Page, Miss Page, and Peter Strzok were paid a lot of money. Peter Strzok was paid over $1 million. I believe Lisa Page was paid $807,000 to settle the case against them. Yet, they were involved. They should be in jail for what they've done, threatening President Trump's life, preventing him from becoming president. No, absolutely no, he won't. Really. Listen to the rest of this.
On who agreed to do this, is that right?
Senator, I do not know.
Well, hell,
who
somebody
signed
had
up
to
on that.
agree to it. I've settled a lawsuit before. The client's got to agree to it. You're the client. All right.
Understood. I'm gonna direct in to the Department of Justice to answer
All right.
those
Get
questions.
me
That's-
that information if you would. Mr. Rowe, help me understand this. The assassin Crooks fired his first shot, as I understand it, at 6:12 p.m. He was about 150 yards away. It's been reported that the snipers, the government snipers, saw him on the roof 20 minutes before. Not 2 minutes, 20 minutes before. Is that correct?
Senator, that's first time I'm hearing this. That is not correct based on the information I have right now, sir.
Well, when did the FBI snipers see him on the roof?
Mr. Rowe just lied through his teeth. There is evidence that the first time Mr. Crooks was sighted on the grounds was 3 hours before he took his shot at President Trump. He was seen on the ground over 20 minutes before that. He was seen. Yet the police detail that was assigned to the Secret Service did not stop him and do what we call a field interview. Field interview. That's when we stop anyone that has any suspicious behavior from being in whatever area to stop and talk to them and ask them who they are and where they're coming from. That is proper protocol. Yet nobody stopped and talked to Crooks at all. Not at all. They did not even know who he was until after the fact. Nobody stopped and talked to him. Nobody stopped to do anything until the police officer and his partner, one boosted the other up on his shoulders, where he saw Mr. Crooks on the roof with his rifle when Mr. Crooks pointed at the officer, telling him to get down or he would shoot him. Folks, the Secret Service knew that. Those officers called it in on their radios to the Secret Service command post. The Secret Service did not do anything. They violated protocol. The protocol was, if there's any evidence of any suspicious activity, to evacuate the protectee. In this case, it was President Trump. The Secret Service didn't lift a hand. And in fact, the Secret Service let President Trump go on stage. The proper protocol is to prevent the president or anyone else that's there protected to not go up in the public until the suspicious activity has been taken out or has been relieved. That's a protocol. The Secret Service today has lied through their teeth. This is just one more example of it.
Just Secret Service sniper, sir. I mean,
I'm sorry, you're right.
That's an
Secret
insult,
Service
sir.
sniper.
No, I'm just kidding.
I understand. I apologize. When did the Secret Service snipers, one of whom ultimately shot the assassin crooks, first see him on that roof?
So, sir, immediately upon the shots being fired, our snipers.
I know that, but when did they first see him? You got a guy lying on a roof.
Yeah.
You got snipers in an elevated position. They can look down on the roof. You got the guy lying there with a gun pointed at the former president of the United States. And they shot him. Good for them. He's now dead as Woodrow Wilson, and that's a good thing. I'm sorry. God forgive me, but it's a good thing. But when did the snipers first see him?
As soon as he presented himself as a target and a threat to the president, sir.
And when was that?
He fires initially a volley. I believe it was 3 shots.
No, he fired at 6:12 p.m.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's the first shot.
So within 15.5 seconds of the first shot, he's
Here's what
neutralized.
people are asking.
Yes, sir.
He was up, Crooks was up there. The snipers at some point saw him,
Yes, sir.
our snipers, because they killed him.
Yes, sir.
When did they first see him? It has been reported repeatedly that the snipers first saw him 20 minutes before. That's more than a quarter in an NFL football game.
Yes, sir.
Do you don't know the answer?
So
to
I
that?
do know the answer, sir. I'm telling you that.
What is the answer?
No,
When
they did not see him. They only
They never
saw him.
saw him.
No, sir.
Well,
They did not.
how could they not see the guy? How could they not see him? They're in an elevated position. They're checking rooftops. They're looking around.
Yes, sir.
There's 2 government snipers. How could they not see him? There he was, big as Dallas, lying there with a gun, pointed at the president. How could they not see him?
Listen to this answer. Listen to this answer. The answer from this idiot was said that they didn't see him. Their vision was obstructed.
I believe he was obscured by that roof, sir. He did not pop up.
The roof is flat with ridges.
He's below the line where they would have seen him, sir. There is he did have concealment. I'm not going to say it's cover. He did have concealment, and then ultimately gets into firing position and fires. And within 15.5 seconds of his first shot, he's neutralized.
I've gone way over. You gentlemen need to answer these questions. Mr. Deputy Director, get me that information about those lawsuits.
Okay? They're lying through their teeth. Oh, give me this information. I want written information. Oh, yes, Senator, you'll have that written information. Why is the public not being told what it is? The senators asked for the information from the beginning. The senators asked for that information from the beginning, and the newly acting director of the Secret Service denies it. And his deputy in command, Mr. Abbott, denies it. What a crock of crap. They deny it. They absolutely emphatically deny it. Yet the evidence is clear. Yes, the Secret Service and the police snipers had him in their sights 20 minutes before the shot was taken. Why was he not either arrested or dead long before he took the shot? That's a protocol. Why was he not stopped? It was a setup. It was an absolute out-and-out setup. The Secret Service, Joe Biden, the FBI, and the Homeland Security Department should be fired. Terminated. Fired. I don't wish bodily harm on them, but they should be fired. And arrested. Fired and put in prison. Facts are facts. That's why I'm so upset about this. And yes, I, as a private individual, am going to send in a FOIA request, and I expect them to give me the information. Facts are facts. These dirtbags let President Trump get shot. They let Corey Comparator get shot. And the 2 other men to get shot and critically wounded. It should never have happened. Demon Catman is saying in the chat, Crooks starred in a BlackRock advert. He did. Crooks starred in a BlackRock video, an ad. He was also pictured with corporate. It was a total setup. Crooks also met with the FBI in Washington just 2 weeks before he did the deed. The FBI knew who he was. It was a setup. It was a setup. Crooks also apparently scoped out the DNC for August. I believe it's August 16th when they are meeting as a Democrat National Committee. Crooks had that set up as well. How much more was Crooks going to do? And I don't think it's just Crooks. Crooks was a patsy set up by the government. Yes, Attorney General Garland is probably also in on this. Would not surprise me. Attorney General Garland should have been fired a long time ago for his wrongdoing. It goes on and on and on. You and I deserve to know the information. We deserve to know the truth. Our lives are also in danger because our government thinks that they just can get away with murder. Our government thinks that they just can get away with murder. How many people was Hillary Clinton responsible for killing? How many people was Hillary Clinton responsible for killing? And why is she still out there? Her and Bill. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. It's unreal. And it goes on. Now, I'm going to keep track of this, and as I get information, I will forward it on to you. I am in this for the long haul. I am in this for the long haul. I will not tolerate, just as these senators won't tolerate, being lied to. I have full faith in Senator Kennedy. I have full faith in Senator Hawley. I have full faith in Rand Paul, and I have faith in Ted Cruz. This is not the end of it. I promise you, this is not the end of it. Don Patoka says useful idiots. Absolutely. Useful idiots is exactly right. There are people that need to be in jail right now. And if it is proven that Mr. Rowe and his Mr. Deputy Director, Mr. Abbott, were in on this, they should be fired and put in prison for the rest of their lives. And I don't mind even YouTube passing that information on. If I was a federal police officer right now, I would be in Washington, D.C. right now telling them, get the information now or else. Or else you will go to jail. That's what actually should be happening. They should be it should be jail time immediately, including the persons in charge of the setup in Butler County, Pennsylvania. And it wasn't just the Secret Service. They should all be in jail. Now, I'm going to go over here in the scriptures. Those of you that know me know I love the scriptures. I do love the scriptures as a reason. Because I believe that the scriptures teach us what God wants us to know. Now, 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 11 talks about putting on the full armor of God. That's what we need to be doing. We need to make sure our political operatives that we send to Washington, D.C. put on the full armor of God. Plain and simple. If they don't do it, they don't belong. If they don't put on the full armor of God, they don't belong. My opinion. We need to hold these leaders accountable. Ken Stelly says multiple shooters. I believe there was at least 2 shooters. I believe there was at least 2 shooters, and the audio backs it up. 2 different guns used. 2 different guns used. I played the audio last week for you all. There's definitely 2 different guns used. Fact. Secret Service has denied it. Even the clips that I played for you tonight, Secret Service denied it. They said only 1 shooter, and that was Crooks. What a crock of crap. What a crock of crap. Now, in 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 2, moreover, it is required in stewards that a man be found faithful. Our leaders should be found faithful. If they're not, they should not be leaders at all. At all. Now, going further in chapter 4, Paul says in verse 9, for I think that God has set forth us, the apostles, last, as it were appointed to death. For we are made a spectacle unto the world, and to angels, and to men. We are fools for Christ's sake, but we are wise in Christ. We are weak, but we are strong. We are honorable, but we are despised. That it describes us to a T. We elect these leaders. They're supposed to represent us. We are honorable, but we are despised by these same leaders. We are honorable, but we are despised. Why? Because we believe in God. We believe in righteousness. We believe in the rule of law. These people know nothing about that. These people know nothing about that. It's terrible. It's terrible. Guys, I will be back tomorrow night, possibly with more information about this, because I've got a call into Ted Cruz. I may even ask him to come on this channel with us, even take questions. A lie doesn't become truth. Don Patoka's here in the chat saying a lie doesn't become truth. Wrong doesn't become right. Evil doesn't become good just because the majority accepts it. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Brothers and sisters that are here tonight, I have your back. I've been putting out good information for all of you. I've been putting out information to try to save our lives. It doesn't matter what the government does. As long as we are together, as long as I live, I will be giving you this information. Because I believe in what we're doing. I care about all of you. I care about all of you and your families and your friends and relatives all over the world. I do. Lamb is the Light is asking me how is Carol. Carol's doing good. Carol's doing really good. She supports me in what I'm doing. Actually, let me rephrase it. She is supporting me in what we are doing. This is her channel as well. She's been here on this channel before with me. She stands by me in everything we do. Now, I ask the Lord to bless you as well. I ask the Lord to bless you, that you might have the things that you stand in need of. Folks, I am also asking you for prayers for my daughter. our daughter. She's been having issues. I offered a prayer. I talked about this on Sunday. I offered a prayer Friday night for her. Miracles happen. The cops in Salt Lake towed her car. She got it back. A friend of hers helped get it back. A friend of hers also helped her get her car fixed. It had some issues. Our daughter was saved. Living on the street, she was saved. Prayers do work. Our Heavenly Father hears and answers prayers. God bless you all. I will continue putting out information as I get it. Lyle Wiley says, Ron, show more of these hearings tomorrow. As I get information, I will pass it on to you. People do need to see this. May God bless you all. I love all of you. If anything else happens tonight, we'll be back on the air to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. I promise you that. Otherwise, we will be back on the air sometime after 6 p.m., between 6 and 7 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow night. We will talk about earthquakes in California. We'll talk about earthquakes in California. Thursday, we'll talk about the new Matted Fault and the earthquakes on the East Coast. Because guess what? There are earthquakes on the East Coast that we're not being told about. And yes, I do have access to it. Up and down the entire coastline, Canada South. I want to thank all of our mods for being here. We have the best mod squad in YouTube history. I love you all. I love our EMA family. Folks, we are being shadow banned. YouTube is taking our subscribers down for no reason. For no reason. We had 6,000 subscribers last weekend. Now we're down to just over 5,600 plus. Please, folks, if you're subscribed to this program, make sure you're still subscribed. Check. If you're not subscribed, resubscribe to the program. It's important. When you resubscribe, also click on that little bell icon. There's a little tiny bell icon. Click on that, and that will bring up a menu of 3 items, a drop-down menu. Click on the word ALL. Click on that so you get notified of all of our programs when we come on the air. Please, folks, also click on that thumbs up button. YouTube uses the thumbs up button, uses the entire time that you watch this program as part of their analytical factor, whether they're going to let anybody here on YouTube see this program. The amount of time you watch the program, the amount of subscribers that watch this program, and the number of thumbs up that you guys give me. It's important. Folks, as soon as we have more information, we'll pass it on. Somebody just said here in chat, Texas has issued a state of emergency. It wouldn't surprise me. While we've been on the air, we've had heavy rain here. I mentioned it earlier. We will be back on the air as soon as we have more information. I promise you that. Lama's Light is asking, what about NCWQ? She will be here as well. She was here earlier. We love all of you. Well, she's here. She's here. NCWQ just said she sent to my messenger. I'll review it, and we'll be coming back on the air to talk about it. God be with you until we meet again. I love you all. Take care, everybody. Good night. Much love.